Romeo and Juliet's Overture, Viola. Hi guys, in this video we're going to be talking about the viola part for Romeo and Juliet Overture. First thing to mention, the way that you have this music written in your page for this specific arrangement, even though you see notes at the beginning of the piece, you're going to, the first time you play them, you're going to imagine as if they're all rest all the way up to measure 13, right? We do start the piece from the beginning, of course, but as you can see, it says second time only pizzicato. So everything from the top, you imagine the first time they're all rest up to measure 13 where it says play. So you follow from the top. Once we get to measure 13, you start plucking these notes. Now, there is no key signature at the top, which means every note you play are naturally all naturals, except for all the accidentals like these ones that you may or may not see during the piece, sharps or flats, but everything after each measure resets to natural. That puts us in gives us two options, either C major scale or A minor scale. And in this piece, we are in A minor. So when you get to this part, you start plucking. These are just A minor arpeggios. E, A, C, E, A, C. E would be fourth finger on A, and you do that again. And then C, B, A. Use open instead of fourth. Rest, rest. After you hit the repeats here, then you go back to the top, and that would be technically your second time playing the piece, and then you start playing all this music, all these notes up to the first ending. So then you continue all those notes with the rest, and then don't forget here you have F sharp, which is high second, G sharp, high third, either fourth for A or open. You could either use high second for high third for G sharp, and then open for A, or low fourth or fourth finger for A, or you could use second finger F sharp, low fourth for G sharp, and open for A, whichever that feels comfortable. As soon as you're done, you play G natural and F natural. F natural again. F natural, C, A. G sharp, as you can see here, obviously you're plucking it in this position, but G sharp would be low first finger. And you're playing plucking position, you grab your bow like this, right? You release your thumb and index finger, you put the tip of your thumb under the edge of your fingerboard, and then you pluck with the tip of your index finger 1 inch or so away, almost 1.5 inches from the frog, from the fingerboard right here. Okay. After all these notes, you take the second ending and get to this part. Now, in this section, it says Crescendo, Crescendo. Crescendo and Crescendo. What that means is that you do an accelerando. Accelerando is the opposite of ritardando or rallentando, which means gradually getting faster. In ritardando or rallentando, you're gradually getting softer, right? Slower, but in accelerando, you're gradually getting faster. Along with that, you have a crescendo as well. So not only you're gradually getting faster, but also louder too. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 rest. So as you follow me, you are going to get, the entire orchestra is going to get gradually louder from pianissimos all the way up to fortissimo. It says forte, but we've changed that to fortissimo. So we go from very soft to very loud, and also much faster, to the point that you get to 29 would be And realize that at 29, you have your sign that you're going to go back to. So, make sure you play all these notes very loud and clear. Very loud and very full sound. Retake. Then bum. Retake your bows every time you have to. And B flats here would be low second finger on G string. Here is low first finger on A string. So just follow what you see on the page and you'll be perfectly fine. Moving on, any other notes that may be a little difficult? Perhaps G sharp for A. All these three notes are played with your first finger. A would be normal first, right here. And then G sharp, low first, back to A, normal first. And everything repeats itself. Then you have C naturals with a bunch of retakes. So every time you have those, make sure you retake your bow and set it at the front again. Going to the next page, you continue all the way up to this point, then you take the repeats and you go back to 29. But then the second time, you're going to take the second ending. Of course, you're not going to turn pages because you can see both pages on your stand. I just have one page up so you guys can see it better. Then you get to the second ending. These ones are not tremolos, like before that you've played in Dance of the Hours. It's quarter note with 2 dashes. That means the first dash would be the first subdivision of quarter notes that are 8th notes. The second dash would be the second subdivision of quarter notes that are 16th. So you have or open D, 4 per each. Next, on this measure, half rest. You have 2 beats of rest and then half a rest on 8th. Then you start on end of the 3rd beat. So 1, 2, and da da da. Right? So count correctly. In this part, notice what you have: piano, down bow, and you have an accent at the beginning of each slur. Then it says sim, which means similar. Accent at the beginning of each slur, which means beats 1 and 3. 1 and 3. So instead of playing them normal, you play it with an accent. Right? You could use high second finger for F sharp and low first for E flat, and again F sharp, E flat, or you could also use low third for F sharp and low first for E flat, whichever that feels more comfortable. But make sure if you use high second and low first, your fingers are really spreading apart. This is F sharp, this is E natural. Now from this position, you're lowering your E to E flat. See? This is E natural, F sharp, yellow, red. From yellow now you go to white to red. See, the descent is much larger now. And that would be all for this section. Just make sure you follow the accents as you see them all the way. See, again, you have another sequence here. There is no more accents in this part except for the next measure. You start with accents again and similar once more all the way to the end. Then you start pretty much your scale, D natural and F sharp, right? Everything else is very easy. I'm just going over the notes just in case. G sharp would be low 4th finger on A, G natural, normal 3rd, B flat, low 1st, A flat, low 4th, not open A. Continuing, it even says low 1, low 1st on A flat, which is low 1st finger on G string, the white, the first tape on G string. Moving on, same finger, A natural. Now realize that there's 2 coda here. Now the first time you get here, you don't do anything, of course, because you haven't done the sign yet. So you continue playing. At 81, you again, just like this section, this is important to know, you're starting at a very soft dynamic and connecting this section to our fast and energetic, loud section of the piece, which is Allegro Gioso at 29. Same thing happens once more, but of course with different notes at 81. You're starting piano, the speed is going to get a little bit faster, and you're crescendoing a lot more to again connect these, going back to the sign to 29. Within 29, you play everything again with the repeat. You take the repeat back to 29. You do all that stuff one more time. But then once you're done and you get to the coda the second time, then of course you take the coda. And if you like, just like Dance of the Hours, you would color code codas like in different colors, highlight them, and highlight the sign. Especially since seeing the sign, you have to go to the previous page of the stand, all the way to the left side of the stand. So it would help very much if you have them color coded. That would help you a lot more. And then the coda, the speed all of a sudden changes to something much slower. Then you have oppo, A flat, first low first finger A flat. Continue all of like that. Again, it says low first for A flat, normal first for A natural, and then you play all the notes as it is. Don't forget the tenuto, which is up, bow, down. Last two bars, full bows and very loud. G forte right here, another G down bow retake, and another down bow retake. And we're also ending this piece with an up bow, as you can see right there. So down bow, and we end it as an up bow. So again, note-wise, technique-wise, this piece is not that difficult, to be honest. The only challenging part about this piece is that you have to read it carefully and try to realize what's on the page, which requires you to not only pay close attention, but also practice it slowly and go line by line, so you actually have enough time to look over the music and learn them. And once more, try to learn it the first time correctly, so then you don't by mistake get used to something that's not even correct. Then you have to go back and relearn it, and that process is one of the hardest ones that you don't want to deal with, where you could just learn it correctly in the first place. That's all I have to say about this piece. Don't forget to practice daily and slowly, and have fun practicing. Thanks.